Revenue is vanity, margin is strategy, cash flow is power. Welcome to the Bottom Line Buzz, the podcast where business owners talk about what's really happening behind the scenes. Smart money, real strategy, no smoke.
Hello and welcome to the Bottom Line Buzz. I'm Joe Zahitis, yet another episode of our awesome podcast. I'm here joined with
Jen Macris, the real queen bee of this podcast and Cannabis Cash Queen. And we are also joined with the beautiful and wonderful Erin O'Donnell. Erin, want to give us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everybody. I am the CEO and co-founder of the Association for Cannabis Banking, and I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you, Joe and Jen.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Yes.
We not only appreciate Erin, but it is because of Erin that you and I started essentially our, I was going to say love affair, but we don't want our listeners to, misconstrue that.
We don't want to go. Wait, that could be right. Misconstrued the wrong way. I love John to death as well, and I don't want any issue with John.
Prefacing that, but we met at an industry conference in September, but the foundation of that meeting was really at Erin's event in New Mexico in
where
July.
we went to dinner.
Where we went to dinner. So it all started with Erin. So thank you, Erin. We have you to thank, my dear.
Yeah, I love that. I love to see people connecting, and it just, makes me feel great.
We could also say it's all her fault too, Joe.
We could.
True.
When we get to that point, we will say that.
You can blame me.
I will say my favorite part, Erin, again, that all without not usurping it. Meeting at your house for the first time for the first event that I went to was singly the best meet and greet, I thought. And I appreciate you putting that in hosting. It was very interesting and a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of people I didn't know.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of people, but a lot of people I didn't know. And it was truly a hoot, I will have to say. And thank you for doing that as a part of the ACB.
It was a great icebreaker, and it's our member reception. So that's where we honor all of our members. We bring our speakers, our sponsors, and it's just a nice way to warm up so that when you get on site, it's not like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you. You're already chatting and talking, so you're ready to go.
No, it was awesome.
Talk about a way to warm it up, right? What is more welcoming and warming than, here, come to my home, right? And you have a beautiful home. And what's so cool about homes in New Mexico is the way they're on these mountains and you see no neighbors. And it's just so cool, right? I'm in Florida, Joe's in Illinois. So it's cool to see a different part of the US, but also, homes are different there and they're built differently. And it was so cool. So again, how welcoming and warming to have that reception in your home with you and Mike. So
kudos to GPS navigation, Waze, which is
no
kidding. Wait, because I plugged it in and I'm like, oh, cool. So we turn on this road and my girlfriend Donna's with me when we're coming to that thing. And she's like, are you sure we're going to the right place? We're in the middle and not nowhere. It's not nowhere, but
it's remote.
This is a neighborhood and how neighborhoods are done down there. And there's distance between the houses. And she goes, is this the right place? I'm like, it is what shows on the thing. So it was a fun venue as well, because it's very different from Chicago.
Beautiful.
And a fun car ride. That was my first time being in the back seat of Joe at the helm. So yes, up the mountain, curves and twerves and whirving and swirling and Donna's
die.
I didn't die.
I'm so glad.
No, we didn't die. But all entertaining, the whole experience. So let's actually get into that, right? So before we get to how the Cannabis Banking Symposium and this year, the Cannabis Banking Experience, how that came to be, tell us a little bit about, your experience in banking, experience in cannabis banking, and then how this conference was birthed.
Yeah. So I've been in banking education for 20 years now. Mike and I are having our 20-year anniversary this year of when we met way back in 2006. And so the funny thing is, I'm not a bank expert. I certainly wasn't 20 years ago. My background is really event management, which is where the experience comes in. I was hired to create a webinar education line of business back when, you were stringing two cans together on WebEx and, you were just hoping that the connection didn't fail. And so it was really interesting. And then I really got excited about the technology side of events. We did some live streaming. I created a company called Banker Stuff way back in 2008 that was sold back in 2010. And then we created Bankers Hub, which was a bank training platform. We ran that for over 12 years. And then we decided we created the Cannabis Banking Professional certification under Bankers Hub. And we just decided that cannabis was such an incredible industry. Like, to actually have an industry just be born right in front of you, a $1 billion industry, while we're, here. And so we just felt like, let's go cannabis banking all the way. So we sold Bankers Hub back in 2023, and then we decided we're going to create an association because this industry needs training, it needs connection, it needs all those great things. So I really learned a lot about banking through my partner, Mike Beard, because he's been a banker for, he'll be embarrassed to tell you, over 40 years. So I learned the industry as I did webinars. And
I have a question. Was there you're putting together the Bankers Hub and all of these other banking related tools. Was there an aha moment that brought the nature of the cannabis certification? Was there no one does this? What was that like aha moment that brought that as a seed that, okay, we're going to build this? Why and when?
We started doing some cannabis education, mostly through BSA. We would live stream at the Independent Bankers of Colorado, and they would be talking about BSA, AML, and they'd start bringing cannabis into it. So in 2014, Mike and I decided to go to a dispensary when we were live streaming in Denver. First of all, we had to walk like 1.5 miles to get to this dispensary. It was ridiculous. And we walked in and it was like skate monkey, graffiti like, and it was just like, what the heck is going on here? And I remember Weed Maps was just starting back then. Now in Denver, you can't miss a dispensary. So when we were just like, we can't believe that this is happening. So I was really fascinated by the cannabis industry on its own. And then when the banking conundrum started happening, we were like, we're at the intersection of an issue here that we want to help solve.
You were live streaming. What year was this?
This was 2014.
Also, 2 cans with a string in the middle, because live streaming, I'm like, when you said, we were live streaming back then, I'm like, that was, because I'm a gamer, as we all know, and I've been streaming for quite a while, and it's gotten easier, but back then you were doing tech if you were doing streaming.
It was hard. Yeah, I would show up with my equipment to like a hotel, and the hotel AV would be like, what? Wait, what are you doing? And we're like, we need a hardwired internet connection, like a T1 dedicated line. And it was really hard to set up. Now it's just like so much easier.
That's awesome.
That was the Skype and WebEx days, right? That's
exactly.
Right?
Which is gone entirely now.
Exactly. Totally. Yeah.
Now, Jen is too young for this, and Erin is too, but I'm still going to say it. So I still have my IRC chat handle. I'm just going to throw that out.
Whoa.
I love throwing those kind of terms around, and people are like, what are you
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah. I still have my IRC chat app.
And we talked about that on a previous podcast with which amazing podcast?
PK. We were talking to PK.
PK. Yeah. They were geeking out hardcore, Erin, about these handles.
I can only imagine.
Hey, you're on a podcast. Of course we're going to geek out a little bit.
As you should. It was well received. Absolutely. That was a great conversation.
So that's the genesis of kind of what started all of this.
Yes.
You've got one coming up, I think, soon, don't you?
One conference?
Event. You've got an event coming up.
July.
Yeah.
July in New Mexico again. Very similar. What I love about this year is we called it the experience. And I really feel like we need to own up to that. And so we've got a lot of, we have a lot of associations that are coming in. The Minority Cannabis Business Association
MCBA,
is going to join us.
That's Mike Lamuto, yep.
Yeah, Mike Lamuto. They just happened to be in Albuquerque at that same time.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, so Abby Coffin was like, you need to talk to Erin. And so we said, hey, we have an extra room. You guys just meet, do your own thing, and then join us for the first day's reception. They're going to join us for bowling. So it's going to be a blast. We're going to have the International Cannabis Bar Association there as well. So we're going to bring some of the attorneys in. We're going to have Mary Jane Oatman from the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association.
That's awesome.
And we're going to have Papa Snoop, who is part Cherokee, and he is a 3-time Purple Heart recipient.
Wow.
He's going to be bringing the veteran voice to the conference. He's going to be introducing Mary Jane Oatman for our opening keynote session. And it's just going to be a great connection. We're going to have the Santa Ana tribal leader come and do a blessing both days. We're going to be on native land, indigenous land. It's going to be so beautiful. And we just want it to be the experience.
That's awesome. That's
Goosebumps.
fabulous.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah,
goosebumps.
goosebumps. Yeah, that's fabulous.
I was speaking with Rob Perro. We were in Minnesota at a conference last week, and he was sharing.
Say it
with
right.
me-
Say it right.
Rob-
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Don't
Minnesota.
you know? Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So God, I'm sorry. You were with
Beautiful,
Rob. Apologize.
by the way. I had only been in Minnesota in February, in February. And let me tell you, springtime, pre-summertime.
It's beautiful up there.
Beautiful. Went to a Minnesota Twins game. That stadium
Nice.
is amazing. The skyline, the city. People are so nice, right? I'm from the South, so you have that Southern hospitality.
Yes.
But those Minnesota folks, clean. The town was clean.
Yes.
The people were wonderful. It was a really wonderful experience. So at that event, when I was in Minnesota, I was speaking with Rob, and he definitely was having FOMO about not being at the experience. So he might make a cameo. I'm not quite sure, but he was like, if Mary Jane is there, he's totally going. So we'll have to follow up with him on that.
That's awesome.
And she's going to be there the whole time. So she's going to be there for 2 days. You know how it is. There's great conversations going on. When I got up to welcome everybody, I looked around, I said, any one of us could be teaching any of these classes. So understand the person you're sitting next to has got vast experience in everything and anything. And I think that's the strength of it, is that people come to share. And that's really important.
You know, it's interesting because your experience doesn't really come from the banking side. It comes from the event side.
It does.
So it's funny how we get aligned, not necessarily labeled as such, but all of the events that I've been asked to speak at are so investment heavy, funding heavy, banking heavy. And I've never been a banker a day in my life, but I speak that bank language. I've managed banking relationships through my previous career, in previous capacities throughout my professional career. So I speak that bank language. And when I began managing financial institutions, when cannabis legalized in Florida in 2016, you know, whoever they is, really say that banking is such a relationship-driven industry and business. But I'm sure the two of you can agree, cannabis is 10x that, right? From a relationship perspective. So I love that I get to draw in from my experience with working with financial institutions, leverage that with the cannabis sector, the legalities, the compliance, the regulation, and bring that all together. But I've never been a banker a day in my life.
Me either.
Nor do you want me to be, actually.
You're talking to the banker. Stop.
So, you know what's funny? And I'm telling on myself now. So, you know, as this goes viral, my first job that I interviewed for in college, right? So I was a college student. I might have been a freshman or a sophomore. It was time to get a part-time job. And AmSouth was the bank of the South in Alabama. And so I went for an interview for like a teller position. And they give you all these, you know, assessments and such. Failed miserably. They're like, no way in hell. So I've never ever told that story in a public setting or a forum. So my speaking days for cannabis related things, banking might be over after this. But yeah, I was like 19 and they're like, yeah, no, you can't count down a drawer. Just kidding, folks. I can count down a drawer.
Right.
But it's just so funny that here we are being proficient in providing context and information and education for cannabis banking, and we've just been closely aligned.
Yeah,
quick note from my perspective. I agree with you, both of you, 100%. The nature of the relationship and banking, particularly in cannabis, has to be by design. It has to be much more relationship and a lot tighter. Because you've got a bank that's treading on thin ice, closer to the edge in terms of what's allowed within the banking infrastructure. You have a dispensary, a cannabis player that's treading rather thin, close to the line in terms of what they want to do, can do, shouldn't do. So that becomes now a dance that they're doing as well. And all of those parties need to come together, and there has to be a level of trust because I've been down this road before where the bank is trusting of the dispensary, the cannabis operator, and then some things start happening, not nefariously, but just not through a lack of understanding of what could potentially go wrong. And now the bank has to either stop them, back them up, or cancel them because of that. And then the same thing happens on the other side. Some banks are too locked down too far and don't understand the nature of the business and the industry. You got to soften some of that, not from a risk perspective, but understanding that this is a business just trying to do business. They're just trying to do commerce. They're not trying to do anything crazy. They're just trying to do commerce. And that's where the partnership has to be there.
Those are great points. Yes. The relationship is so important because being in banking now for 20 years, I know folks from 20 years ago that they're like, oh, cannabis is, lots of payments folks. We did a lot of payments training. And that's why I'm so fascinated with payments and cannabis, because that's really where the issue is.
We started this journey, right? Cannabis banking, cannabis solutions. To Joe's point, Erin, we're the conduit, right? We're the conduit between the operator, seeking that FI, that financial institution relationship. And then, my job as a consultant in the space is to reduce that risk when I present this opportunity, present this client to a bank, right? We have to protect the financial institution from taking on that risk and anything nefarious, like Joe said. So we're kind of the conduit to that. We put our name and reputation on that introduction and helping position that operator to be supported in their banking relationship. The other thing I was going to say, which is interesting about payments, is the evolution of payments, right, Erin? So when we started in this in 2013, 2016, financial institutions were super hard to come by.
Yeah.
And you were paying in 98% cash, right?
Yeah.
So the payments solution and banking wasn't as widely available, and I wouldn't even say accepted, but the options were not available as it is here we are all these years later. So it's been super cool, I think, from all three of our positions to see the evolution of, and now we're talking about tokens and digitizing payments and crypto and ACH
Wallet-based
and pay by
technologies.
Bank.
All of it. Yep.
It's so cool to watch that. Yeah.
It is. That's where the fintechs are coming in. And I spent a couple years in Silicon Valley, in San Francisco in the late 90s in the dot-com boom. And I've always been interested in startup companies and tech companies. So fintech's always been of interest to me because that's kind of where that extreme kind of entrepreneurial attitude in banking comes out. So that's where I've really found kind of that really interesting space in banking. I love seeing what the fintechs are doing.
If you look at the nature, now I'm going to ask a question, but I'm going to tee it up. So don't jump on me.
I won't panic.
So it's not a deep question. So if you look in the context of the industry event that's coming up in July, the nature of that is focused fundamentally around banking, ergo the name of the group itself and the name of the event itself. But you've got associations that are showing up. You certainly have banks and providers that are showing up. You have those conduits that are showing up as well. From a dispensary perspective, what has been your perception and how many and to what extent, I realize it's a localized type of event for a lot of the dispensaries, they can't travel. Do you have a lot of dispensary and or operator participation? And if so, what has been their takeaway in that?
We do. Actually, great question. We go to the monthly Cannabis Association of New Mexico conferences where the operators come, and we had a great conference last month about rescheduling, and kind of nobody knows where to be. The theme for our conference is Future Forward because and I equate it to a baseball analogy where when you have your fourth hitter coming up to bat, the outfield starts backing up. Maybe he'll bunt, maybe not, but your best guess is that this is your heavy hitter. So we don't know where in the outfield you're going to be, but start backing up or start moving in or, start thinking about where you're going to be. So the operators are really looking at, they're talking about where do we need to be in terms of standards. We need to be tighter on compliance. We might get a break on 280E, but maybe compliance is going to cost more when we talk medical grade and we're talking pharmaceuticals are in it now and the DEA, so where do we need to start backing up into? compliance for one thing.
Preparing for.
Yes. So we have a gentleman from a local cannabis company who is their CFO, and he's going to come and talk about, we're doing a CPA panel to talk about accounting and all of that. How is that going to change? So the voice of the cannabis customer is going to be there. I also forgot to mention we're inviting Cannabis New Mexico Association again to join us for that first day reception so that our bankers can talk to them directly. And then we're inviting them to bowling too. So we have a few that are speaking, and then we have a group of local cannabis operators that are joining us. And then on Friday, we're going to have our tour again of that seed to sale all under one roof. And we might add a second tour for the folks who went to that tour last year. So we want to bring that voice in. But yes, this is a banking operations and strategy conference first and foremost.
Two follow-on points. First of all, I went to that operator tour, and I got to tell you, that was fascinating. I'm sorry.
Shout out to Carver Family Farms.
Yes.
Carver Family Farms,
Right?
yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Because not only are they organic in the nature of how they do it, but just all of the care and love, that's the only way you can even say it, that goes into the nature of how they're actually building their product. Kudos to them. So that's the first thing.
Yep.
But the other part I wanted to tag on, while the points you're bringing up are fundamentally New Mexico, ACB focused, the nature of the topics are really national.
They
and
are.
the banks that are even represented that I know of from the last one I was at are really national in scope. So while the players, some of those speaking might be local in their play, we're really talking at this conference about a national topic, and we're covering it at a national level.
That's exactly right, Joe. And thank you for pointing that out, because it is New Mexico, I don't want to say
Centric.
heavy, but
Centric.
friendly. You know, because here we've got the folks and they've gone through a lot of what everybody else is going through. So what's on their mind is going to be on other operators' minds as well.
So I would love to piggyback off that as well. So first of all, Erin, I love a good baseball analogy. Yes. Secondly, I love that we had the voice of the operator present last year,
Yes.
because with that voice, that particular owner, she was a voice for the operators in that room, and she was a cause for change because she was being unfairly treated by her financial institution that she had aligned with, and that was exposed in a good way, right? And she was in the company of other financial institutions that said it doesn't have to be this way. And what was so great to see everyone rallying to provide support, not in a make wrong, not in a, hey, come do business with me.
Yeah,
but
like,
in a,
hey, this is a good relationship
Right.
I'm going to steal from someone else. Yeah.
It was not like that at all. It was, sharing best practices, sharing what it could be like, sharing that there's other options. And so I just felt that being able to have that voice really was a cause for change. And you hand selected that operator to be present. And I think that hand selection, and it sounds like that's what you're going to be doing again, really did provide a singular voice, but in representation of.
Well,
And-
representative voice in the nature of, because I was at that one, and I think what we miss, and I'll shut up and let you go back, Jen, but what we miss certainly at the payments level, but at the banking level as well, I don't have that visibility. I don't have that scope of view. And that's why going on that tour for me was huge, because I don't know what I don't know.
You did feel the love in that building, by the way, because
Well,
they
without
were
doubt.
she was a micro license.
Yeah.
A fully,
She had everything, seed to sale under
Yeah,
one
it's a vertically
roof.
integrated operation. Yeah.
Yeah,
CBC.
amazing.
you felt the love, you felt the passion that went into that. It's a family run organization.
Very proud,
very
yeah.
proud, no waste. Everything goes back into the process, into the ecosystem. It was very interesting and great products. I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
But Skittles, anybody? So, and you didn't try any, Joe, because
I know. I didn't have to.
you were witness.
Yeah, I am in the cannabis space, as we all know, but I'm not a cannabis consumer fundamentally. You cannot walk into that facility, any of those facilities, certainly that facility, and not get a contact high. No one was smoking, no one was doing anything, but just the nature of the plant and the product. I swore when we got back to the hotel, everyone was saying, oh, we know what they were doing. smell. It was a good smell. I love that
We
smell.
did go for lunch, and I think you had a burger, fries, and shake, and you might
Burger,
have gotten
fries,
a
shake.
to go.
We were eating all of it. Yeah, I had the munchies. Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
whole
for
thing.
sure, for
Double.
sure.
I think it was a double, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think it was a double. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
But yeah, so I just loved. I love that you had that operator in the room, and again, speaking to that, but also to Joe's question, I love that you called that out, Joe. And Erin and I have spoken about this because, well, New Mexico is the destination, right? Bring me to New Mexico. No other. When else am I going to go out there? So it was great to have that as the destination. And while it was New Mexico centric, you brought in you brought in partners that participated from all across the country.
Yeah.
And so when I was sharing with people, you need to come to this event. Well, I don't have any business in New Mexico. That doesn't matter, right? That doesn't matter. It's the voice of everyone.
It's a national conference. Yeah.
Well, it's like, and again, nothing, I don't want to give any shout outs to anybody that aren't promoters of this. I really don't care. It's a podcast. But NECAN Boston is not just about Boston.
Right.
So same thing.
Yeah.
Same exact thing.
And he was just in Minnesota, and it's the New England Cannabis.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I will say just a small shout out. Thank you, Erin, by the way. There was a recommendation that was made for a dinner that perhaps Don and I should go to.
Oh.
Scared to bejesus going up in that gondola though to that place. Oh my
10-3.
God. Donna's like, no. And then he said halfway up that gondola, right, there was a restaurant at the top of this mountain. So by the way, the reason I bring this up is for anyone who thinks going to New Mexico and or Albuquerque and or this event is flat, you couldn't be further wrong in that regard. So we go up this gondola ride and we're up halfway up after that first jump and it drops down and it comes back up again. He says, he just gets on the microphone and he goes, oh, by the way, it's 7 seconds for any of you that you're about to ask. And everybody's like looking around going, what does that mean? Yeah, 7 seconds is how long it will take before you hit the bottom of the valley. That's how high up we are. And Donna's like, I really didn't need to know. It was pretty wild. It was, I will say the restaurant was amazing. The food is fabulous. I don't want to give them, I mean, that's not what this is about, but this is about cannabis. But as an event, as a location, as a venue, everything about it. And thank you, Erin, for the suggestion. That was a
Good. Yeah. I mean, I love New Mexico. Obviously, this is where we chose to live. And there's just so much beauty here and people don't get to see it because there's not always reasons to come to New Mexico. There's no professional sports teams here. And, you know, it's a real big art scene. It's not business heavy, but it's just a beautiful state. And, you know, we love it.
And hot air balloons. Hot air balloons.
Hot air balloons, cool, very cool. There is distance between each of the venues. Just remember that when you go to New Mexico. There's nowhere where you go when you walk out the door and you fall into the next place. It's a 20-minute drive at minimum. I think it took us a half hour to get to the bottom of that gondola before we went up.
Yeah.
I mean, the things are not nearby.
No.
A Vegas mile, right? A Vegas
mile, exactly. Let's just walk to the next gig. There you go. It's one hotel down.
There it is. I see the hotel right there.
It's one hotel down. That's it. It's not that
Let's walk.
That's so great. You know, and what I also enjoy about the cannabis banking experience is that it's so curated, right? We often attend these conferences that are everything in the kitchen sink. So the curated conversation, the specialization of the banking, the finance, the lending conversation, the CPAs, the payments. So I do love that it is a microdose, if you will, of a conference that is people speaking the same language and we're all learning from each other. I will also say, let's give a shout out to Tina Tasaka and Eric with Cannabis X America. We need to have them on, but you know, the content that they captured and the videos and just everything that they did to really provide that additional value or that, you know, that sprinkle on top.
I was just thinking cherry on the top because that's what they were. Amazing.
They were so amazing, and we love Tina, and I can't wait. You know, she's bringing Papa Snoop, and it's just going to be so great. And I just can't wait. And hopefully, my boys will come with me, my husband and my son. I'm trying to get them to come. And
Good.
Well, also because I think you have this amazing MC that's going to be participating.
Oh, you know, I heard she was.
I've never heard of her. I don't. Who is she? Do we know her?
Erin should do the
I
announcement.
think like the Cannabis Cash Queen or something like that.
Yours.
I know.
Put a mic in her hand. She's got the whole room covered.
Yeah, she's going to be amazing.
By the way, for any of you who didn't catch that, it's actually Jen that's going to be doing
Yes.
it. Who's going to be our MC.
Jen is going to be our MC. She's going to bring her energy, her positive. You know, that's really what we need. And I felt like that's what we had. I feel like this is sort of like a safe place to go for the bankers, the credit union folks, to kind of come and just take a break and get a rest and, get to know each other better. That's why, like the two of you, I get so excited when I see people kind of coming together that I know, and it's like, wow, that's cool.
And loosening up the proverbial tie, right? Just kind of relaxing a little bit. P.S. Erin gives the best hugs. I feel like I hugged you like 24 times. Like she gives the best hugs. But yeah, but loosening up the proverbial tie, creating that safe space. And, the reason why I'm so honored to have been asked to MC is because you and Mike and Kirsten are doing so much as the conference organizers and putting things together that it's hard to moderate, which you do an amazing job. It's hard to moderate, to MC, to guide the conversation, make sure the staff, the hotel things are bringing in the meals on time. So I'm like, if I could take something off your plate and it's something I enjoy to do, happy to do it. And obviously it's going to be a joy and a pleasure to participate in that.
So with that said, Erin, bring us home on this particular episode. Let's talk about this event, this conference that Jen will be emceeing. Thank you. When are we talking about? How do people get a hold of it, find you, find the event itself, and sign up? And where do they do that?
Yeah. If you go to our website, the-acb.org, everything's on there. The hotel information's on there. Beautiful, affordable is something that we really want to lean into because this conference is very affordable. The hotel rate is $159 a night. That it's a beautiful facility. It's got a lot under one roof. So we're so delighted to really, I think the success of last year's conference was the fact that people were willing to share. And all of our attendees were willing to speak up, and it was a really good place to do that. Like people were just bouncing off of each other, and that's really what I wanted. It's funny when you talk about Jen being the MC, we were so busy, like I didn't even print out any bios of any speakers, and it's like I'm looking at my watch, it's like, well, I guess we got to go. But what I did was actually I know everybody, so I'd rather talk about who you are than read your bio. So even something like that, it's like everything just went the right way. And, I feel like people brought a lot of their heart, and I think that they really just enjoyed being together. So if you go to our website, you can sign up. It's $9.95. $7.95 for members. Again, this is not a big expensive conference. We just want folks to join us. We recommend you come in Tuesday. There for Wednesday, we're starting.
This is in July. Let's focus back on the dates. It's July
15th and 16th.
There you go.
Wednesday, Thursday, and these are packed days. We're going from start to finish. And then Friday, we're going to have the optional tours. So we recommend you get an afternoon flight, like literally after 12 o'clock. We are going to have some earlier times. You could probably get out at 11. But come Tuesday, leave Friday, or bring your family. We have people that are bringing their families. They're going fishing. They're enjoying the arts. We had people do that last year. And we want to encourage that because it's in July. So why not take a vacation in one of the most beautiful states in the country, I think. So yeah, we just love, the more the merrier, because one of the things that's really important to me about this conference is that people stay together the whole time. It's almost like a graduate school of cannabis banking, where the education is the thing there, the topics, what we're talking about, the discussions. But there's not some big sponsor that's buying steak dinners for just 10 or 15 people. We all stay together the entire time.
The networking element of it by being together actually really does help a lot.
Yeah, it does.
I agree with that.
And Erin feeds us very well.
Very much so.
Oh my God. The food.
The food. When you go to these conferences, you're like, oh, I'm not going to eat well. I even went to the grocery store to get to provisions. No, there was no need. We ate very well. Mm-hmm. It was not mass-produced dry food. It was well done. So thank you for that. From one foodie to another, and Joe appreciates it too. Like, it was well done.
Yeah, it was a wonderful event last year.
Yeah.
So with that said, we will obviously have the link to all of this in the description below as well as a part of this episode. Final thoughts, first Erin, then Jen, and then we're going to wind this one up.
I'm just so thrilled to be here with the two of you, Joe and Jen. And I feel like the industry is really coming together, and that's something that I love to see. I love to think that I'm a part of that. You both are incredible people and connectors. And, it's so nice to see this same group of people year after year. And I think, our hearts are in the right place. I'm so excited about this industry, and I can't wait to see everybody in July.
Jen, MC Jen, with anything?
I echo everything that Erin said, and our hearts are in the right place. Thank you for creating that space, but also accepting our invitation to be on the Bottom Line Buzz and to talk about this amazing, experience that you are hosting, and we're excited to be a part of it. I love that the kind of the theme, if you will, is that future forward. Right. Mm-hmm. So what that looks like, and we've been a part of it from almost the origination. And so
Absolutely.
Future forward, like that's a really cool, kind of thing to take on, and the thought of what that future looks like in cannabis. So excited to see you in July, excited to be part of the event again. And thank you again for accepting our invitation to be on Bottom Line
Thank
Buzz.
you for being a part of our podcast. That's awesome. I will close this out for today. Thank you for being a part of the Bottom Line Buzz. We've got Erin, the ACB conference coming up in July. We're looking forward to everybody being there. If you're not a part of it, reach out to any one of the three of us. We will certainly get you hooked up and connected and can talk about it further. Thanks for being a part of the Bottom Line Buzz.
Thank you.
That's today's buzz. If your business handles cash payments or compliance, this is your room. Like, subscribe, share, and remember, revenue is loud, but the bottom line is what counts.